Professor Catharine Lumby is a former press gallery journalist who now works with companies to prevent and respond to cases of sexual assault, and she joins us now from Sydney. Catharine Lumby, welcome. So when were you in the press gallery and what was it like back then?
Well, I was a kid, really. I was in my late 20s and my early 30s. And look, it was a very intense environment, very like working in the media, to be honest. So a hothouse environment. People work together, they work hard, they play hard. And in those environments, people can form attractions to each other, and there's nothing wrong with that. But there's a huge, large, clear, bright line between intimacy and assault. And sexual assault is the issue at hand here.
What is clear about ongoing problems with the culture in Parliament House?
Well, look, I think, Scott Morrison, who I don't always agree with, said it. And, maybe it took his wife to tell him that. I don't know. That's what he seemed to be saying. I think we've kind of known about this for decades now, that sexual assault is the thing that women fear most. You ask most women what they're most scared of, it's being raped. You ask men what they're most scared of, it's being ridiculed. So that kind of tells you a bit about the differences between genders. And, the problem is in all workplace cultures, to be honest, and it largely affects younger women, where men who have power over them, and it can affect some young men as well. I'm not saying it's exclusively women, but it's largely women. And what happens is that women don't speak up. I didn't speak up when it happened to me. I know tons of women. I did a law degree. I know tons of women who worked in the legal profession who had the same issue. This has been going on in workplace cultures forever, and it's a form of discrimination. It makes workplace cultures unsafe for women, and it's not okay. It's also a crime. It's a form of assault. And you know what? I think, unfortunately, people sometimes think sexual assault is not like being punched in the face. It's just sex. I'll put up with it. Well, it's not. It's something that damages people and for some people destroys their lives.
I don't know if you're comfortable talking about this, so just say so if you're not, but can you tell us about the impact of the incident that you suffered and how that was handled? Sure. And the approach of authorities when you went to them to seek advice and help on what to do with what happened to you?
Well, I didn't actually seek any advice, to be honest. I've written about it in The Guardian. I write opinion columns for The Guardian newspaper. And on many occasions, not just once, as a 29-year-old journalist in the press gallery, I wanted interviews. I was a good journalist and, you want access and so on. And staffers, press secs, sometimes even, ministers and people would put their hand on my leg or make inappropriate suggestions to me. And you know what I did? This is back in the 80s. I put up with it. And you know what I love about young women today is they don't, most of them. Like social media, I think, has made a huge difference. Women are prepared to stand out together. We used to tell our stories in single file to counsellors, to police sometimes, to our families, to our friends. It's the least reported, least prosecuted, least convicted crime, sexual assault. And I think we're coming to a reckoning about it. Yeah. And I'm glad Scott Morrison gets it now. And the Liberal Party, as someone once said, does not have a woman problem, it has a man problem. Now, I'm not being partisan about this. I think that so many organisations in our society, including the media, are male-dominated and driven. And it is hard for women, it's really hard for young women, because when men have power over you and they're attracted to you, it's hard to complain.
So what did you make of the way the Prime Minister approached talking about this morning and answering questions on this morning?
Look, I want to, you know what? I want to give him a free pass on this because, I mean, Scott Morrison and I would disagree on lots of political things, but at least he's starting to get it. And if it took his wife Jenny for him to get it, that's great. I actually don't like it when men say, "Oh, I have a wife, I have a sister, I have a daughter." No, that's not the reason to care about sexual assault. The reason to care about sexual assault is it breaks people. You know, some people, myself included, and I won't go into why, who've been sexually assaulted actually turn that into activism and something productive. But not everyone can do that. It happens to men as well as women. And it is a crime, and it's a real assault, and it needs to stop. And we need to take this stuff really seriously. And if our Prime Minister is taking it seriously, good for him. But, you can't just kind of say, "Oh, we're going to do a sweep of the organisation and sort it out in 5 minutes." It doesn't work that way. It's got to be a long-term form of cultural change. And there is good research and evidence on how to do that. But it's not a quick fix.
And you, Catharine Lumby, you say you're uncomfortable when men say, "Oh, I've got a wife or I've got a daughter," so that makes me think about it in this way. Why? And the Prime Minister did mention that. If he did go down that path, do you think, you say you could give him a free pass, but if he did say it that way, do you think he does get it?
Probably no. But at least he's trying to get it. And I'm a feminist, and some people don't like that word, but I'm a generous feminist. And I want to say, if Scott Morrison is at least on the track to trying to change this, great. I want all men on the side of women who care about this issue, and men. I know so many good men who care about it.
So reviews have been announced, and they'll be headed up by an MP and separately by a bureaucrat. Is that enough?
No. To be honest, do you know what you need to do to really change cultures? I know, because I worked with the NRL for years. I've worked in lots of organisations. Firstly, you need to do an anonymous survey, and you need to talk to the young women and let them really speak. You need to look at the evidence. You need to then implement very embedded educational, cultural change valued programs, which people can relate to. So it's so it relates to the workplace and organisation they work in, and organisations are different. You've got to do that. You've got to evaluate it and benchmark it. You've got to repeat it. It's not a quick fix. There's no quick fix to this. But also, you know what? We live in a really gendered society where we think gender is like some completely defining issue like race, or religion. And actually, I think that's what needs fixing. We should see each other as individuals and as fully human. But sexual assault is part of the gendered society we live in.
Yeah. And so what would you say your work in the NRL over the years has been successful? Because the NRL has had a reputation over the years as being notoriously wanting in this area.
I know.
How long have you worked with the NRL, and do you feel like you have made a difference there? And do you feel like you could make a difference at Parliament House in Canberra if they got you to do similar work there?
Call me Pollyanna. But look, I love the guys at the NRL. There are so many fabulous men, who play that game, who used to play the game, and I'm a working class girl originally, and I like men like that. They're funny, they're interesting, they're no different to the privileged guys I went to Sydney Uni and did a law degree with, right? Some of them are bad guys and some of them are great. And I guess as a feminist, I would say this. I think that there's no point to feminism if we don't bring men with us. And, You know, so I will keep working with the NRL, and I know that some guys are going to do the wrong thing. But, you know, it's like drink driving. People should never get a skinful and get in the car, but they do it, right? But we have laws. We have protocols. We random breath test. So that's better, isn't it, than it was in the 60s and 70s when we didn't test people for that stuff. So, you know, in my view, you just have to keep at it.
Yeah.
But it takes time, a long time. There's no quick fix.
Yeah. Okay, Catharine Lumby, thanks so much for talking to us this morning from Sydney.
It's a pleasure.
And if this story has raised any issues for you, you can get help by calling the National Sexual Assault and Family Violence Counselling Helpline on 1800 RESPECT, which is 1800 737 732.